So these are the two types of induction motors in three-phase type. Okay. So just I want to discuss few things about these induction motors. Uh, so this three-phase induction motor, that is slip ring induction motor, it is having a wound rotor. Rotor carries a three-phase distributed winding similar to its stator, and the terminals of these rotor windings are accessible outside. So the terminals are accessible outside. So today's date is 23 1. So slip ring SRIM, slip ring induction motor, right? So its rotor carries a three-phase distributed winding, and uh, rotor winding terminals, that means terminals of the rotor winding are accessible. Okay. So the terminals of stator winding are already accessible both for both slip ring and as well as squirrel cage motors. So in addition, for slip ring induction motor, you have rotor terminals also accessible outside. That means we can connect anything. We can connect some resistor or inductor, some source to the rotor if we wish to. Okay, right? So and so that it's speed control of this induction motor, speed control of slip ring induction motor can be done from rotor side also. Okay. Stator side also we can do with some difficulty, and from rotor side also we can do, particularly for slip ring induction motor. Whereas for squirrel cage induction motor, rotor carries uh, a copper bars. Okay, no winding. Okay, in the place of winding, we will have thick bars covering the surface, outer surface of the rotor, right? So rotor is also in the shape of a, see, this is the rotor, right? So you are able to see this rotor. Okay. So over this surface, you will find you will have some grooves, right? Giving space for placing the bars in the grooves. So inside of these grooves, we will have inside of these grooves we will have bars, copper bars. Okay, thick copper bars, right? So all these copper bars, which are in the inside of these grooves, are short circuited at the end. Okay, these copper bars, red color thick copper bars, are short circuited at the end. That means here, around this. There will be an end ring here. So this blue color line is a ring, end ring. So both sides you will have an end ring. That means almost this is welding type. Sorry, it has gone up. So this the other side also you will have a thicker ring, so that all the copper bars which are placed in the slots of rotor are short circuited at both ends, and they are welding. It is the ring is welded to the rotor, so that we cannot remove it normally, and the terminals of the rotor are not accessible. So the terminals rotor terminals are not accessible. Okay, speed control is not possible from rotor side. Okay, this is a construction. Like this, the squirrel cage rotor is constructed. Okay, so this rotor is very rugged. Having a rugged construction. Okay, rugged construction means very strong construction. The rotor of a squirrel cage motor normally cannot not it is not we cannot simply destroy it. You won't find a winding bond in a squirrel cage rotor. Burning of winding generally doesn't happen with the squirrel cage rotor, because it is having thick copper bars, right? They are able to carry big current, even though they carry extra current, two times, three times the rated current, though they and that current cannot destroy the bars, because they are having a and they can carry large amount of current. So this rotor is having a rugged construction. Okay, whereas squirrel cage induction motor, right, it is having a winding, rotor winding. So winding means it is a thin wire, very thin wire. Okay, so which will have obviously less current rating. They can carry only a small amount of current. Okay, so slip ring induction motor is a its rotor is carrying winding. So carefully, we must carefully deal with it. Okay, so wherever certain applications, sorry, where we don't need any speed control, generally squirrel cage motor is preferred. Okay, we don't want speed control, just we want have a motor which will not that means very harmful means some we call like in situations where we use motors in unhealthy atmospheric conditions. Just motor can be thrown anywhere, just you can keep the drop the tool there, right, and you can come next day and pick up the tool and again use it and throw it there again and come the next day, like so. In such atmosphere, in such working conditions also, this induction motor rotor squirrel cage induction motor generally is not damaged. Okay, so its construction is like that. Okay, so that is a squirrel cage induction motor. You may not be able to see full clear picture of this stator, but it's a general view of a induction motor with some part of the stator removed, so that you can see what is there inside of an induction motor. Okay, so next one, this is a stator core, a stator frame, right? And inside of the stator core you will find a three phase distributed winding. Okay, so you see after the winding is completed, you will have a picture. You can view like this only, you can see like this only, right? But this is a thin wire, it will carry, the winding is made up of a thin wire, stator winding, right? So next one, if you see, this is squirrel cage rotor. You can see this is a ring. Outside you can see here rings are shown, and here other side also a ring is there. Okay, so rings, between these two rings you can find a copper bars, thick copper bars. Winding means normally you will have some wires visible, but it looks like almost a solid one, because the bars are solid copper bars, right? So this is the shaft, this is a bearing. Okay, this is a rotor, squirrel cage rotor. So this is squirrel cage rotor with bearings, same picture. Okay, next you see rotor shaft, and one ball bearings here, end rings shown, skewed rotor slots. Are you able to understand? Anybody please respond.
Yes, sir.
So here rotor skewed rotor slots. See, these slots means in which we place copper bars are not parallel to the shaft. This, the grooves provided on the surface of the rotor, they are not parallel to the axis of the cylinder of this rotor. Okay, they are skewed like this, with they will make certain angle with the shaft axis of the rotor. So it is having its own advantages. Okay, so the rotor is skewed generally at certain frequencies. Sometimes the rotor tend to uh, eh, it resists to start, it rejects, or uh, it is unable to start sometimes even though you give a supply. It is because of the magnetic locking between rotor and the stator, right? In order to remove this locking, magnetic locking between rotor and stator, and to make to avoid this is called magnetic locking, the slots are skewed like this. The grooves the grooves or slots are skewed, so that the induction motor uh, is free from magnetic locking. Is it clear? Just seen the construction of a slip ring induction motor and squirrel cage induction motor, right? And next we'll go into other in the further details of the induction motor. So do you have any doubt regarding what is being taught till now on the induction motor? Hello. If you have any doubt, you just can ask me. Induction motor. Okay. So now most commonly, the working principle is a common question in examination. Okay, it is a common question in some examinations. semester and examinations, right? So you need to thoroughly understand the working principle of three-phase induction motor. So let us look at the working principle. Before that, I want to see what is the continuation part, torque and torque slip characteristics, right? So okay, so let us go into the working principle of three-phase induction motor. So we generally have a starter. So inside of this starter, there is we have a starter core. So this is instead of this is the blue one. Inside one is a starter core. If I draw another circle inside of this. Oh, sorry, it is not a continuous. Are you able to see my screen? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. One second. This is starter core. So inside of this core, you will have distributed winding, three-phase winding. Okay. So the three terminals of these windings are available outside. Okay. So these are starter winding terminals. Okay. So when you give supply to this, when you give supply, sorry, power supply. Power supply to the three-phase starter winding. What it will do is uh, a rotating magnetic field is produced by starter starter winding when we feed it three-phase power supply. Okay, AC supply. Okay, three-phase AC supply is given to the starter winding because we will have three windings. So three phases are connected to the three winding phases, three power supply phases are connected to three windings of the starter. So they will produce a very important thing is will produce a rotating magnetic field. So it is also it is, in short, it is called RMF, rotating magnetic field, is produced by the stator. Actually, if we have a single winding will produce a alternating magnetic field. Okay, it produces only alternating magnetic field. What is the meaning of alternating magnetic field? That means this is a coil winding, okay, single phase winding. If you feed a single phase AC, right, it will produce a flux, magnetic flux, right? So this AC is having a waveform of like this. The AC waveform is a sinusoidal waveform, right? So whose magnitude changes from time to time, right? So its magnitude is changing. So at a zero, right? At t is equal to 0, its magnitude is 0. Again here also 0 amperes, right? Here also 0 amperes. So this is a peak value, right? Or maximum value. And this is a negative peak, negative maximum value. Between 0 and maximum value, you are having different values. Yes or no? Okay. So current is will be having a different values at a different instance of time, right? So the flux wave also is same. It is the flux wave also will be similar to this current. Flux wave is also generally similar to the current wave. So whenever it becomes 0, flux also becomes 0. So this is flux, magnetic flux. Okay. So it is also having same properties. It will have a 0 here, 0 Webers, here also 0 Webers, here also 0 Webers. Okay, it is a maximum flux, maximum flux. It is negative maximum, right? So between these two, you will have different values of flux at different instants of time. Okay, different values. So flux is alternating. Its flux will change in magnitude. Okay, so one side, while the current is a positive half cycle, right, the flux may be having a north pole. It may be a north pole flux. When current is in a negative half cycle, the flux produced is a, say, south pole. Like that, flux is alternating. The flux direction will change with time. But this is the case of a single phase current when fed to a single winding. Okay, so if you, but in the case of a three-phase distributed winding like this, that means you will have three windings like this. Okay, three windings like this in the stator of a three-phase induction motor. These three windings will produce a three single phase fluxes which are 120 degrees out of phase. Okay, so if we are to represent the fluxes produced by the three different windings, right, fed by three different phase currents, the flux will be phi maximum sine omega t or sine theta. You can write, you can take sine theta. Another phase, yellow phase, ry, phi y can be phi maximum sine theta minus 120 degrees. And third phase, ryb, is also having same magnitude, but this is the equation of these three fluxes produced by the three phase windings of stator. Okay, so these are all vector like things. These are called phasors, flux phasors, right? magnetic flux phasors. Okay, so if you add okay, the resultant will be 1.5 times phi maximum, where phi maximum is
Peak magnetic flux.
huh?
Peak magnetic flux.
Pardon?
Peak magnetic flux, the sign function.
Peak
Sign.
value, maximum value of flux due to any phase. Okay, so and it is constant value. Okay, so resultant of the three fluxes produced by the three windings is a constant flux. It is not a alternating flux like this. See here in this right side diagram, uh, so this is a varying flux, right, whose magnitude changes right, it will have different values at different instants of time, but the resultant flux of uh, flux that is produced by these three alternating fluxes, which are given by these three equations, okay, is a constant flux 1.5 times phi maximum. This is the resultant flux. Okay, its value will not change at any instant of time. The resultant of these three fluxes is equal to 1.5 times phi maximum. And also one more important is this resultant flux is rotating in nature. Okay, see if you take right rotating magnetic field, it is a rotating magnetic field. Okay, the resultant flux is rotating in nature, right, are rotating magnetic field. Its magnitude is constant and is equal to 1.5 times phi maximum. Okay, so it is similar to a flux that is coming out of a magnet, permanent magnet. If you take a permanent magnet, it will give you a constant flux. Okay, but it is also in rotating in nature, it rotates. That means if you go back to the figure of the induction motor, you will have a rotating magnetic field rotating like this. Rotating magnetic field rotates inside of the stator, but inside of the stator what you have here, a rotor is there, right? On the rotor you are having a what, the rotor is having a copper bars. Okay, so what happens, this rotor is there inside of a this stator. So this rotating magnetic field, what happens, it will pass through the conductors of the rotor and the rotors will experience a change of flux linkage. Okay, so rotor conductors will have change of flux linkage because of rotating magnetic field. Okay, now what happens, change of flux linkage d phi by dt is there, means what happens, inside
EMF.
of the rotor you will have induced EMF, right? So an EMF is induced in the rotor conductors. But the rotor is a short circuit. The winding is a closed winding. Generally, without closing the terminals of the rotor, you cannot make the rotor rotate. You cannot put the motor into motion or in a rotation. You cannot put the rotor into rotation without closing its windings. So three windings should be joined together. Three terminals of the rotor winding. Okay. So because the rotor windings are closed windings, what happens? Current flowing in the rotor conductors. Okay, because there is induced EMF in the rotor, voltage induced in the rotor windings, rotor conductors, and these are closed. Open circuit, there is no current, right? In open circuit. So because the rotor winding is a closed winding, you will have current flowing through the three rotor windings, three-phase rotor windings. So rotor also starts circulating three-phase current just like a stator. Okay. Is it clear?
Yes.
Any doubt? If you have any doubt, you ask me. So because the rotor windings are closed windings, there will be current flowing in the rotor conductors, right? Now what is happening again? There is a magnetic field produced by stator. Okay.
And current flowing in the conductor.
Since these current carrying rotor conductors are in the stator magnetic field, what happens when a current
Experience
carrying
force.
when current carrying conductor is in the placed in the rotor magnetic field, it will experiences a
Force.
force, right? These experience a force because of which the rotor starts rotating. Because of this force, rotor starts rotating. So all this what I have explained, taking 10 minutes, right? It will happen just at the press of the motor switch. If you just press the rotor switch, right, immediately motor starts rotating because it takes no time to have currents flowing in the rotor and when the rotating magnetic field being produced by the stator, and it being linked by the stator rotor conductors, right? It is the linking of the rotor conductors with this rotor magnetic field, and again EMF is induced in the rotor conductors. That EMF causes some current flowing in the rotor conductors, and and all the conductors of the rotor experiencing a rotating force, right? Because they are carrying current and are in the magnetic field, they should experience a force given by BIL sin theta, right? Or BIL. Okay.
Yes.
So all this entire process happens in a very fraction of a second, right? Or otherwise, you can think of another in another view. The rotor is producing rotating magnetic field, and stator produces rotating magnetic field, and rotor is also having three different currents flowing in its three-phase conductors of the rotor, and they also produce another rotating magnetic field.
Yes, sir. And they might repel or attract each other. So that
So these two force fluxes interact with each other and cause a mechanical force acting on the rotor, because stator cannot move, only rotor is free to rotate. Okay, is it clear?
yes, sir.
So this is the working principle of a three-phase induction motor. Right? If you have any doubt, please ask me. Any doubts, please ask me. So I have clearly explained you the working principle of a three-phase induction motor in words, right? If you want to have the proof of the rotating magnetic field, you can refer to BL Theory textbook, which I have given to, I think, to your CR or somebody of your class. BL Theory textbook, I have given the link to download the book, which is available in the internet. So the mathematical proof of rotating magnetic field RMF is like this. See, you are having a three-phase currents. So phi 1, say phi R is equal to phi maximum cos 0 degrees plus j sin 0 degrees into sin omega t, and phi y is phi maximum times cos 120 degrees plus j sin 120 degrees into sin omega t minus 120 degrees, and phi b is phi maximum into cos 240 degrees plus j sin 240 degrees multiplied by sin omega t minus 240 degrees. See, in the place of omega t, you can place theta also. Okay, to avoid the confusion. So these are the expressions of three alternating magnetic fields produced by the three uh, windings of the stator. So expanding and adding the above three equations, say 1, 2, and 3, you'll get is equal to phi r is equal to 3 by 2 phi maximum sin omega t plus j cos omega t. Okay, so this is also equal to 3 by 2 phi maximum 90 degrees minus omega t. Okay, so whatever may be the phase difference with the reference, so the resultant phi r is given by this expression. This magnitude, this is magnitude. Magnitude of rotating magnetic field is given by someone is asking about is there no two-phase motor? Does it exist? Two-phase motors also exist. It is possible to have two-phase motor also, but very rarely two-phase supply is used in the world, right? So these three-phase motors are very efficient compared to single-phase and two-phase motors. Compared to two-phase and single-phase motors, three-phase motors are very efficient. Okay, and also they can produce more amount of torque. They are able to carry heavier loads also than when compared to single phase and two phase motor. So if you add two fluxes also, the resultant flux is again rotating in nature. If you add two fluxes which are mutually perpendicular to each other, 90 degrees apart from each other, then the resultant flux is also in rotating in nature and will have some constant magnitude equal to phi maximum, and it is a that motor also uh, existing but very rare applications. Its torque is less, and also to run such motor we need to provide two-phase flux, two-phase supply. Two-phase supply should have a 90 degrees phase difference between any two currents. See, three-phase supply, voltages are, see, VR, Vy, Vb, see, V maximum sin theta, this is V maximum sin theta minus 120 degrees, V maximum sin theta minus 240 degrees. These are the phase differences. Okay, that means if you draw the waveform of three phases, you will have a R phase. Say if this is the R phase, okay, yellow phase after 100 degrees, it will start like this, and blue phase further 100 degrees. Three phase currents will have phase difference like this. So no two currents, no two phases are in phase, means both are not having maximum value. Any two phases you take, they are not having same value at a one instant of time. Okay, except a very few instances. This one, this one, and this one. The two currents are having same value, right? So except those points, they are not having same value at any instant of time. Okay. In the same case, if you draw two-phase supply, the currents must be like this. So the currents are red and blue. So if this is R phase, blue phase must be 90 degrees away from it. Okay, this is 90 degrees. Whereas one degrees between any two phases. So this is 90 degrees and this is 100 degrees. This is 100 degrees. Okay. So if you are able to provide two-phase supply like this with 90 degrees difference between the voltage of the supply, you will be able to produce rotating magnetic field again using only two phases, but much torque can be produced. Okay, small amount of torque is produced, and hence they find very rare applications, exceptional cases. I'm unable to remember them, right? Because no one studies talks about two-phase motors. Okay, you can have multi-phase, more than three phases, four phase, sorry, 6 phase, 12 phase motors. They are very good. They will produce more torque, able to produce move heavier bodies. they can produce more mechanical energy, right? And also producing the essential producing because of production of high torque, they find higher applications. And the torque, as phases increases, if as the phase increases, the mechanical energy produced is very much smoother without noise. Two phase motors are more they produce more noise than three phase motors. If you increase more if you go for 6 phases, their operation is further smooth, very silent motors, just like DC motors. DC motors are very silent motors, they produce very less noise. The noise only caused by the brush and the friction between brush and commutator, otherwise there will be no noise. Okay, so these are the advantages of having a three-phase machines, right? I hope I made clear the working principle of three-phase induction motor, right? So in the next class, we will go into the topic of torque and torque slip characteristics and close the module 3. Okay, right. So if you are having any doubt, you can ask. Otherwise, we will end the session. It is already 12:56. You have any doubt? You please ask. No doubt? Then okay, I'm ending the session.